Yeah, my part at this chapter is to continue to shine a light on the realities of what workers are going through. As an organization, we represent workers that typically don't have worker protections. They don't have union protections. And so advocating for these communities means you have to be in those communities. You have to listen to those stories and you have to know what's going on. So as far as the living wage ordinance, making sure that that is enforced. That was announced, CRJ Victory. And the way that we're doing that is with our We Are Not Disposable campaign. It is our temp worker campaign where we realize the temp industry really is exploitative, to say the least. We look at how hard folks coming home from incarceration, how hard they have, how hard a time they have in the hiring process and just participating in society in general, especially on an economic level. I look at our cultural workers that are constantly underpaid. I look at our restaurant workers where we legally pay them $2 and some change an hour. I look that we live in a state that doesn't have a minimum wage. And the federal minimum wage is abysmal, $7.25 for an hour of your time. And you know, fighting for black and immigrant workers and centering black folks, when I say this, we have always been fighting for fair wages and dignity in our labor in this country. That is a continued legacy that we have to fight for. And so organizing now a trip to go to the Legacy Museum and seeing the history of how black folks have been treated and the parallels and the intersections on how labor justice is racial justice, is environmental justice, that's the expansion of the labor conversation, and that's the spirit that I want to take to this role as we organize. And so that means wage theft, our wage theft campaign, our battling for the living wage ordinance, fighting for temp workers. It's ongoing. Okay. The warrant clinic, the annual warrant clinic that we do every year. This is going to be our 3rd annual. And we organized the warrant clinic. We organized for the traffic and municipal court judges and the city attorneys, co-signed by the mayor, the sheriff, the district attorney, and those municipal powers, coming together to put on a 1-day community court where we resolve all of the barriers to people getting their licenses, thereby dissolving barriers to opportunities. And so we work with the OMV, where the past few years, when they go through this 1-day court, they leave with their Willy Wonka tickets saying they're eligible for their license. And I can't tell you what relieving the huge amount of debt that's on people's backs just in traffic and municipal court. The fines and fees they owe for not having insurance. The dads that got their license taken away because they didn't pay child support. Like, we have some work to do in terms of how our community is impacted by this bad legislation, we'll say. And so, you know, I'm thinking about a mother that had $10,000 of fines and fees relieved and is on her way to getting a license after having to drive without one and praying on a hope and a prayer, but has to continue life, has to provide for her family. Same men that haven't had their license in years. And it's not like the community is unaware of the fines and fees they owe. They just know that this system isn't safe. So we get to move it to Joe Brown Park and to Sanchez Center. And thank God that these judges have the heart that they've shown. So shout out to the traffic and municipal court judges and all the city attorneys and all the people that volunteer to make a day like that happen. Right. And you know, that is just a day where, as an organization, we get to put our core values out front in the form of an event. And we're still building and we're still learning how to educate and evolving with the times as well. And, you know, several other things that we try and do, our worker complaint system, where we're just trying to make sure that people get their justice, right? File with the NLRB or EEOC, or do you need us to send a demand letter? Do you need to be connected to attorneys? We just want to be a place where workers know that there's somebody in their corner for
Right.
work injustices.